All right, welcome back, everyone, to HCP Roundtable. I'm your host this week, G Funky Boxing. We got a great panel here, as you guys can see, and we got some great topics that we're going to talk about, and breaking news, all that good stuff happening. So I want to thank everyone who's here live. Make sure that you hit that like button. Don't forget to do that. You want to support HCP? The best way to do it is hit the like button. All right, doesn't cost you anything. Just boop, hit the little button. That's all you got to do. But how's everybody doing tonight? You guys ready to do this or what?
Heck yeah, let's get it.
We better hurry up before another fight cancels.
Hey, you know, in this time we're living in, that could very well happen. So speaking of that, we did get a cancellation. Looks like the David Benavidez versus Uzcategui has been canceled, I believe. According to Mr. Coppinger, he says sources, Jose Uzcategui tested positive for performance-enhancing substance EPO on October 27th, according to a VADA test, and he has now been pulled from his November 13th fight with David El Bandera Roja Benavidez. Yeah, I don't really know what to make of it myself. So that's why I have you all here, so I can get your guys' opinion on this. So I'm going to start with Mr. Joe Habib from Ringside Reporter. What are your thoughts on this, man?
Well, it's kind of funny because Jose Uzcategui, when he fought Caleb Plant, he was having some weight issues, and you could see he looked emaciated in that fight. So I wonder if he decided, you know what, I need a little extra something to get me through these workouts, keep my energy level up while I'm dropping the weight. EPO is a very dangerous substance because it can increase the red blood cells. But when you do that, the blood gets thicker and you can suffer blood clots. A lot of the cyclists, they had issues. A lot of them were dropping out and they were suffering from strokes. So it's kind of dangerous when you stop blood doping like that. But evidently something was going on in the training camp that he felt that he needed something. And, he took the plunge, right? This is the first time that I've seen him test positive for a banned substance. And this is not just any banned substance. This is some serious high-tech stuff, right? Dangerous stuff, as I said. So, yeah, this is it's not a good look. Let's just put it that way. It's not a good look.
Definitely not. And this is the type of stuff, again, we've talked about this with the Valdez situation. Like, this is juice, okay? This is not that stuff, that the stimulant that Valdez was taking.
It's an appetite suppressant. This is
right.
This is flat out blood doping.
Exactly. Straight up. Gail, I want to get your thoughts on this story here, since you brought up the fights being canceled left and right. What do you think about this here?
Well, once again, we're reminded you should never make non-refundable travel plans when it comes to boxing. Because
there you go.
It happens. You know, if I'm David Benavidez, I'm seeing Roja right now. I mean, the guy cannot get a fight on the books. I mean, he's right up there behind Teofimo Lopez and George Kambosos as far as his fight schedule goes. What a mess. Now, for the viewers, he does have a new opponent. The fight is not completely off. The promoters reported this afternoon that his new opponent has been booked, and he is super middleweight contender from the news release, Tyrone Davis of Monmouth, New Jersey. He's 16-1 with 6 knockouts. Yes, that's a single-digit 6. I just read off. He's off an 8-round win in September. So he obviously, didn't work that hard if he's coming right back. His most notable fight was a split draw with Anthony Durrell when he debuted at super middleweight. The one thing on his resume that does give me a little bit of heart is that he's trained by Stephen Breadman Edwards. So that's good news out of Philadelphia. Well, so at least Benavidez gets a fight. It's a fight. He's not completely off the calendar, but, it's the kissing your sister version of a boxing match. It's just ridiculous.
You gotta love that. Oh my goodness. Yes, the Cairo Davis, 16-1, 6 KOs. But like you said, Gail, that's the most important thing. At least he's going to get some work here, and the date's not wasted because of what Uzcategui wanted to do. So, mi hermano, Raw Boxing, what do you think, bro?
Man, I take a bit of issues with this, mainly because, in my opinion, right, there's a bit of a lack of professionalism when it comes to the issues of making weight. Now, some would argue that with age gets a little harder to lose weight, but I would argue that calories in versus calories out in a proper maintained diet and enough workouts, you can manage your weight. I mean, it's impossible. Biologically, it's impossible for you to keep the weight or gain the weight if you're burning more calories than you're taking in. And there's many ways to do this in a way to where you're not starving yourself. You can go through very, very high dense, low calorie foods, and still be full, but intake very low calories and just get your workout done. When I hear of a fighter going for the chemical options to gain whatever it is it might be, whether it's lose the weight, whether it's beat his opponent or whatever the case might be, I don't like it one bit. Because yes, he got caught now, but the question will remain: how many times has he done it and not gotten caught? Some will say, well, that's an unfair question. Some will say, well, no, that's an actual fair question, because let's be real, sports in general is unfortunately full of this. Now, I don't want to come across as the guy fully accusing Jose of being a dirty fighter, but this will make him to be, in the eyes of a lot of people, a dirty fighter. I'm not content with David's opponent, but in these situations, you have no options. If you want to continue to build on your career, if you wanted to loop the wheels, so to speak, get that rust out, you got to kill whatever's in front of you. If they put a guy that's 37 with 100 losses, you got to go for it. I think everyone that's a true, boxing fan will understand that this isn't a cherry pick. This is kind of like, I didn't want to waste my time and money on just a training camp and then that fight. So in that regards, bring on Tyrone. What was his name?
Cairo Davis.
Bring on Cairo Davis. And you know what? I'm not saying this is going to happen, but boxing has given us those shockers, right? What lets us think that Cairo Davis ain't going to step in there and just boom, shocker?
He could be another Angel Fierro.
Correct. Correct.
No, it does.
Correct. So
happen, right?
Exactly. So at least he's, at least there is a fight. But David's camp, David's management need to seriously start considering the future for this guy. When I mean seriously, I mean they need to really sit down and forget about all of the pride, all of the ego, and they really need to take a hard look at what's going on in David's career, because it would be a shame for this guy to waste such a talent on the way they've been managing his career, the things that's been happening in his career. I just don't get it. I don't get it. I don't understand it.
Yeah, this is one of those ones where it's like, but I want to give a shout out to everybody here that's watching us live. Puerto Rican Rum, Stephen, my boy, Run PMC, Pound for Pound Boxing News, Toby Bartlett in the house, man. And Sergio changed his name again, says Funk or Die Boxing 510. I appreciate all you guys for being here. Chicano Prophet. Again, don't forget to hit the like button, guys. That's the most important thing for the channel and for the show. You know what I'm saying? I'll give my quick thoughts on this. It's unfortunate when this type of stuff happens. The fighters feel like they need to do something to, I guess, give themselves an advantage. Me personally, I mean, I have my opinion on steroids, and I don't want to turn this into a conversation about steroids.
Correct.
But the rules are the rules. He got busted, and he's going to have to suffer the consequences, whatever it is. Whatever they plan to do with him, suspend him. I know he's pulled to the fight, obviously, so he's going to not get paid.
Yeah.
So I mean, I hope it was worth it, man, because now look, you can't provide for your family. And that's why we all get up and go to work every day, including these guys. I mean, I know this is what we do for fun. All of us, we watch boxing, we cover boxing, we love watching it, but these guys do it to make a living and support their family and feed their kids. And now you're going to miss out on money because you decided to, take an anabolic steroid. And definitely a bad mistake there from Uzcategui. And I mean, look, Benavidez got himself an opponent. Gil, who knows? I mean, boxing is always one punch away from ending. But let's just hope Benavidez can come here and take care of business, because I really want to see him move on to bigger and better things after this. So yeah, I mean, really, the Uzcategui fight for me was really, it was always kind of for me. So the fact that he's out doesn't really bother me, and Kyrone Davis is in, for me, it's kind of like the same, So, but I hope that he moves on to bigger and better things, gets the win here. But a shocker would be something surprising too, I don't mind shakeups in the division, but before we move on to the next topic, does anybody else want to add anything to this topic, this breaking news here, before we move to the next topic?
I do. I just want to bring a quick point. When I mentioned something about the team taking a good look at David's career, think about this for a second. Say that the fight was still going on with Uzcategui. A guy like David Benavidez should not be fighting Caleb Plant's leftovers. He just shouldn't. They really need to be, if they want to keep his name as a hot name for Canelo Alvarez, which ultimately, whether you love or hate Canelo, you have to admit that is the top of the mountain to climb in that division. If you're not after a Canelo fight, you're wasting your time, right? Mm-hmm. Why is David Benavidez fighting a guy like Jose Uzcategui? Why isn't he fighting a more credible opponent? Why is it fighting with such big time gaps in between fights? Yep. I just don't get the way they're managing this kid's career. Yeah. I believe if they don't make a quick change within a span of 2 to 3 years, you will see a David Benavidez who reach a plateau effect and then start rolling downhill. It's going to happen. Trust me.
Yeah. Well, they all get a little, can you see how little I've got here? Little past because of COVID. And I get that. They don't really know how somebody's going to react to having COVID until they get in the ring. He could realize that it hit him a little harder than he thought. Stevenson-Herring freely admits that his first fight back after having COVID, and that guy is a specimen. And talk about somebody who's living proof you can maintain weight with diet and discipline. The dude's 35 and he's still weighs 130 pounds. I don't know how he did it. And we know he's clean. So it can be done. Yep. But legit, they probably do want to see how does he perform. That COVID is a big unknown for folks.
Yes.
So I was willing to give him a pass on this one. And the only other thing in his favor is he's still only 24. So thank God he's got a few years. But you guys are right. If he gets much past 25, 6, 7, and he's still in this stall out territory, he's done. Mm-hmm. He's done.
I agree. And a few questions here in the chat. Somebody asked Raw, who should Benavidez fight? I'll answer that. Why couldn't they make the Caleb Plant fight? They were both champions at one point in the same division under PBC. Like that's a fight that should have happened. I don't understand. Apex Predator says, what did Uzcategui test positive for? EPO. Let's see here. Chicano Prophet. Benavidez is young, so he has the benefit of time, but he might also grow out of 168 too. Yeah, absolutely, man. He's a big boy. We know he's lost a lot of weight just to make 168. From what I understand, he was at over 200 pounds at one point. So, that's very possible. But let's hope that he can maintain himself and stay there, because I really do want to see the Canelo fight.
Yeah, and he's young and he does have the time. But that's why I said 2 or 3 more years of this level of competition, it's gonna put him at a plateau effect. I don't want to deviate the conversation from the sport, but it's kind of like what happens in soccer, like the French league, PSG, top team at the French league. But when they go to Champions League, they get killed. Why? Because French league is a low level. You go to Champions League, you're fighting higher position. You're not used to it. They kill you. And so same thing in boxing. You get used to fighting, a certain level of opponent, and you make such a big transition from point C to point whatever, and then you get shocked. You just get shocked.
Yep, all good stuff, man. So let's just hope that Benavidez gets past this guy and then we can get him in a couple of fights that we actually want to see him in there with. But let's switch gears now. We had a fight last night, not in boxing, but in the MMA world. And I guess you could say a bit of a shocker. I don't know. I'm going to get everybody's reaction to it right now, but I want to know your reaction and your thoughts to Claressa Shields taking a loss in her second MMA fight last night. Raw boxing. I'm going to go ahead and start with you, my brother.
Yeah, it's very interesting because I used to teach at MMA Highlanders here. I used to be their boxing coach, and it's very easy, yet at the same time, it could be considered hard for some people to maintain the difference between what it means to be a boxer in MMA and what it means to be a boxer in an actual boxing match. It's not just how good you throw your hands. It's also where your legs placements are. It's also how you throw your punches, how your defense is. And when you see Claressa Shields, she's a boxer inside of an MMA cage. She has very little traces of being a good stand-up MMA fighter. Now you might say, well, Ranger, what the heck are you talking about? So the way she was standing last night, just giving what was that girl's name? Last name
Montez.
Montez. Just giving Montez her front leg, giving Montez the opportunity to feint, grab the leg, take her down, giving Montez the opportunity to really not give Claressa Shields the opportunity to set up traps like they do in boxing. She was feinting with the hands and trying to hit from the out. Claressa Shields still has a lot to learn. I'm not shocked. This is the reason why whenever her jump into the PFL was announced, and people were already making noise about, her versus Kyla Harrison. I said, man, keep her away from Kyla Harrison, because Kyla Harrison is a two-time Olympian gold medal judoka who now is a very well-educated stand-up fighter. And Claressa Shields is just not going to be at that level. I wasn't shocked. Does this mean her career is over? No. I mean, how many MMA fighters can you count with your hands that have retired undefeated? Not many. A defeat in MMA, I don't want to say something good, normal, but it's not as bad as it's looked at in boxing. Just pick up the pace, keep learning, and keep fighting the level of competition that you're at. Forget that you are Claressa Shields, a two-time Olympic gold medals in boxing. That has nothing to do inside the cage. Place yourself as Claressa Shields, the rookie in the MMA world, and just absorb everything.
I agree, man. We got a comment here. The self-proclaimed GWOAT. Yeah, that's her. So I'm gonna pass the mic to you, Gail. I want to know what your reaction and your thoughts were to Claressa taking a loss last night in the cage. I almost said octagon, but it was in a cage. That's the UFC, is the octagon. So what were your thoughts on that?
Well, first of all, let's point out that it was a very, very narrow decision against her. Very, as narrow as it gets, right? 28-29 scorecards or 29-28 scorecards. So, props to her. Her ground game is where she lacks, and she's learning in front of us, right? And she admits that, by the way. If you hear her being interviewed, she admits that's what she's been working on. But, props to her for having the guts to do this, because she could stay strictly to boxing, remain dominant, which we assume she would, partially because of skills, partially because of lack of competition, frankly. But, she took a chance on herself. And I don't have a lot of time for the critics now, gleefully dancing on this loss. She had the guts to give it a try. She's getting better. Even in the loss, she was a whole lot better than she was in her first bout. And there's a famous saying from, of all things, that noted boxing philosopher Nelson Mandela, who says, you either win or you learn. So she didn't win, but she learned. I can't think of a whole lot of her peers who would have the guts to try this. And she's also freely admitted that she does it because the potential for money is so much higher for her. It's the opposite for a lot of the men in MMA, but for the women, their big paychecks are there in MMA. So she's, got her eyes on entering the tournament next year. She is not discouraged. She says she'll be back. She says she wants to compete for that $1 million payday. And I have also heard her say that she intends to retire from boxing, probably in her mid-30s, but she intends to then focus strictly on martial arts. So, haters, get over it. She isn't going anywhere anytime soon.
Yeah. Let's see. We already got somebody asking for a rematch here, saying they wouldn't mind to see a rematch. Marion Browns here says Kimbo had the same problem, dominant until it got taken down. Ariane Yehuda here says Amanda Serrano has. Yeah, I mean, Amanda Serrano is, doing the same thing. She's got a couple of wins under her belt, I think by submission as well. I'm not much of a big MMA guy myself, so I don't really have too much to say about it. About Beeb, I'm gonna let you go and give your thoughts on this, man.
Well, she's learning on the job, and for the amount of time she's spent doing it, she's picked up some skills. She's going to continue to get better. She's humble about it, and I actually thought she did a lot better than she did in the first fight, as Gail said. I think that's a valid point. And I think as time goes on, I mean, she's an athlete, so she'll pick it up. Can she ever be a world champion at MMA? Possibly. But again, like I said, she's learning on the job. If she continues to fight people like she fought last night, like 3-0, 4-0, people on her level, then she'll continue to grow. It was a close fight. But again, the takedown is where she's lacking, and she realizes that. She's addressed it, and she's going to work on that. And we'll see what happens moving forward.
Yeah, I think you made a good point. Learning on the job, definitely. But like I said, I'm not the biggest MMA fan. I used to watch it a lot when it first came out, like in the 90s. And then when it kind of had that revamp in the early 2000s, once it started to become so wrestler dominant, like I just couldn't watch it anymore. Like,
Yeah,
no disrespect to wrestlers at all. Like, I understand
to each his own.
Yeah, I understand.
I mean, wrestling's got his art.
Yeah.
My brother was a wrestler, and it's got its art.
Yeah. It's just not the most entertaining thing to watch at times. So that's why I decided to kind of move away from it. But every now and then I'll take a peek. And I did watch last night to see how she would do. And she looked like a very inexperienced fighter in there as far as the mixed martial arts go to me. But we'll see what she wants to do. I know that, again, the money problem is probably something that's going to keep her doing this. So I just feel like if you're going to continue to do it, I feel like you should just completely go MMA. That's what I think.
Well, just to add, because I know we need to move real quick. It's kind of hard to move away from a sport that you're so dominant, and that it's it's kind of hard to move away from boxing when you know that although you're not making a lot of money, you're making 150 grand, maybe 200,000 a fight. You are the GOAT, so to speak, in this generation. You know what I mean? So I guess to keep her confidence level, I lost here today, but I know in 6 months I'm going to beat somebody in boxing, and then I'm going to come back and try to learn again. And the money situation is what's going to keep these girls and some guys keep making that jump to MMA, because the potential is big. I mean, think about it. Claressa Shields, I think, only been close to $1 million once. Close.
Yeah.
Right? Kyla Harrison came out of the Olympics and without even being a complete MMA fighter, won the tournament, won $1 million, got an average of 390,000 per fight. And I can see Claressa Shields looking at like, yo, what am I doing in boxing? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Why is this girl's making all this? I mean, you got girls in MMA that don't even have an Olympic gold medals making more money than Claressa Shields. So I think she's going to remain in both sports.
She's got the deal with Sky now, and if she fights Savannah Marshall, that'll be a nice payday for her.
Well, that's a great fight too. Yeah,
she's made no secret of the fact she wants to get that Marshall blemish off her record, unify, and she's not real sure where she'll go after that.
Yeah,
and she will then put boxing aside, continue in MMA. She's absolutely clear that's where she'll live and stay after she decides to quit boxing.
Right.
Yeah. And it's unfortunate the situation, but that Marshall fight, I want that bad. I want to see that one.
That's a good one.
Yes, we do.
Yes, sir. So next topic I want to talk about here. We seen, I guess you could say, the makings of a star last Saturday night with Shakur Stevenson getting his belt from Jamel Herring, the WBO super featherweight title on ESPN. He looked really good in a sensational performance that night. Gets the 10th round stoppage. But they do 1.2 million viewers, which is really, really good. I'm a big fan of that. I love when a lot of eyes are on the sport of boxing, especially on the younger kids. I think it's great. But I want to ask you guys this. Would it have done more if it was in a prime time slot and not so late at night, like for you guys, Beeve and Raw? I mean, it was 1:00 in the morning, I think, by the time this fight was happening. So, I mean,
Yeah.
Is the Top Rank and ESPN, did they kind of drop the ball there? Could they have gotten more? Or what do you guys think? I'm going to start with you, B. What do you think, man?
Well, when you're on ESPN, the regular network, you have to deal with the other event that's going on before the boxing match, and a lot of times you're going to get pushed back. It's unfortunate, but that's the way it is. That's the difference between being on Showtime or being on DAZN. When you're on the regular channel and you're not on the app, then the time constraints, they can change, right? But with all that being said, a lot of people, they DVR it so they can watch it afterwards, and who knows who watched it, the next day after they recorded it, right? So that's still people watching Shakur Stevenson. That's still people being familiar with Shakur Stevenson. So I can guarantee you more than 1.2 million people watched that fight, in my opinion, right?
Easy.
And I watched the fight a couple times, so it was a great fight. I got to be honest with you. I think the kid has the potential. I think he's going to be the next superstar in boxing. I was very impressed with the performance. I thought he did a little bit of everything there. It was, like I said, I told Deed Style this. So this was probably the most complete performance that I've seen in a long time from a fighter. He did everything. He was mid-range, outside, up close, counter punching. He was aggressive. He was sitting down on his shots. He was gritting his teeth. He had that steely-eyed look in his face instead of that wide-eyed look, like he's concerned about what's coming back at him. He took it to Herring, and this was his best performance. And this was a great coming out party for him. And I think the sky's the limit. If he can get that Valdez fight, hopefully, if he can get that Lomachenko fight, which Lomachenko said he wanted to fight him, I think the sky's the limit for this young man. I think when he moves up to 135, I think he has the potential to rule that division as well, right? So I think that he has unlimited potential, and I think as time goes on, I told D-Style this. Remember Canelo at 24, and look at him now. I can see the same career path happening for Shakur Stevenson. I can only see this young man getting better.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, he's still very young. He's still got a long way to go as far as learning and moving up in weight for sure. Gail, what do you think of this? 1.2 million, and could they have done more if they had put it in a primetime slot?
Of course they could, but if you are the paper pushers, number crunchers at ESPN, come on, who do you think holds the power there? The Bob Arum and Top Rank, or the NCAA? Okay, I mean,
Right.
Talk about an unfair fight. That's Tyson Fury beating up on Chocolatito. Come on.
Mm-hmm.
However, let's think about the alternatives. Okay. They move over to somewhere like Showtime, or they move over to a streaming service. They wouldn't get a fraction even of that 1.2. So they are much more agreeable to taking that big, getting a teeny little piece of that big pie than getting a whole lot of something much smaller. But I agree. I mean, come on, everybody. We all know what's going to happen with putting this right after the conclusion of a major NCAA college football game. And if you looked at the schedule, at least on the West Coast, they even had a half-hour of padding built in for a wrap-up show before going, and they still ran over, for Pete's sake. Why in the world didn't they move, and why doesn't boxing move more of these shows to the afternoon? Let's do a matinee, folks. I wouldn't mind that. You can drink beer at 1 or 2 in the afternoon. You know what, folks? It tastes just good. It's just fine. And they also had the added complication, let us add in their defense, they did not expect Atlanta to be in a Game 7 playoff the same night. So that really hurt them in Atlanta at the venue. I mean, it just did. Nothing they can do about that. But they do need to look forward. You know, this stuff's so predictable. I distinctly recall waiting for Lomachenko and Mariaga after yet again another delay, this time a Heisman Trophy ceremony. That seems to be the other one that happens every damn year. We wait and we wait and we wait. The one thing I will say, at least it wasn't as bad as Canelo and Kovalev.
Oh.
You know, just small blessings, guys. Just count them. But yeah, they need to knock this off. I mean, for God's sakes, for the love of our circadian rhythms, put these things earlier in the day. It's not going to kill you.
Yeah, I remember that Canelo Kovalev. Both guys are just laying on the couch, look like they're going to sleep, you know, waiting around. Like, what an embarrassment that was.
In the media section. I mean, even though we were, you know, on the West Coast, oh my God, the whining, the moaning, the.
I bet. I'm the same way though. I'm the same way too. I get impatient now that I'm getting older, so I get it.
Well, that's the other thing. Boxing fans, you know, there isn't a certain, you know, component of boxing fans that's, you know, aging a bit. Yeah, this is just getting to the point of ridiculous. And UFC's card the same day, 5 hours earlier. Hello, that's why UFC is eating boxing's lunch. You know, we watch football during the day. We watch soccer during the day. We watch golf during the day. Some of you. Put boxing on during the day. Give it a shot. What do you got to lose?
Nothing. Yeah, I agree. Marion Brown here says Shakur, a great boxer, but not a finisher. Could have finished Herring in the early rounds. Okay, let's see. We got some more here. Very good performance by Stevenson, but Herring was a title holder.
This is what they do all the time. Instead of elevating Shakur Stevenson, they're going to devalue Herring. It wasn't what Shakur did. It was what Herring didn't do. I mean,
correct.
Typical boxing fans.
Yeah, they're never ever happy.
Subtract from others to add to themselves. That's the old thing, right?
Puerto Rican Rum says Top Rank should leave ESPN. Boxing is treated like a second-class citizen on ESPN. I mean,
as we were just saying, you know,
more like fourth-class citizen.
Any thoughts from where? All right, let's figure it out. Where are they going to go?
Yeah, that's just.
ESPN's kind of funny though. Sometimes they'll throw boxing away, and like a boomerang, they bring it right back.
Yeah.
I don't see a reason. Look,
what do you think?
I think.
Go ahead, man.
Okay, so I just to touch. I want to add too much on the numbers because I think Beeb and Gail have explained it, you know, correctly. But I will say this. I mean, I think there's major networks such as HBO that should have never left boxing. That could have fixed the problems that were going on in boxing to keep boxing sort of like on that legendary network, right? I know there's a big change in the landscape of, you know, the way we watch things nowadays. But HBO is still around. You know, HBO is still around. I think what killed it for me, because I remember I stopped watching boxing and HBO even before boxing went away from HBO, was just such one-sided bias commentators when it came to boxing there. But I just want to say something about Shakur Stevens. I agree with Beeb. Now is the time for the vultures to come out and say, well, you know, Jamal Harris, he won nothing special, right? Of course Shakur's gonna win. Yeah, Shakur was supposed to win. Look, we've been saying for the longest time that Shakur Stevens got the goods to beat whoever he wants to be in boxing. I think the reason we saw a better Shakur Stevens this time, the reason we saw somewhat more aggressive Shakur Stevens, I think they're listening to the criticism. Let's be real here. The major criticism with Shakur Stevens is I can't go past 2 rounds before I fall asleep, right? I personally don't agree with it. I'm a boxing head. I'll watch a boxing match even if it was Winky Wright's back in the ring. You know what I mean? But I thought he came out and displayed something new. I mean, the aggression he displayed, how calm he was, how he managed the range, how he was setting traps for Herrings, how clean he was landing. The sky is the limit. I seen a comment. I'm not going to go back and say that Lomachenko will beat Shakur Stevens. I would say maybe but I wouldn't put my money on that because this kid is not no rookie. This kid, he might be young in the pros, but this kid has a Bible of boxing in his DNA. This kid's been boxing since he was little. This kid fought and arguably could have won a gold medal when he fought Ruiz Ramirez. And we're talking about a 2-time Olympic gold medalist. And then you saw him make the transition to boxing, professional boxing, and he was second nature. So Lomachenko may not be his boogeyman. I say, I'll go on the limbo and be the one to say, now he beats Lomachenko.
I'd pick him to beat Lomachenko too.
Yeah, right now he beats Lomachenko.
I think his boogeyman is Navarrete.
Could be because of how accurate you see with a fighter like Navarrete. You almost have to have the power to kind of make him respect you a bit. And that's where
so awkward too. He's hard to find.
Yeah,
and I think he'd drive Shakur nuts.
He's hard to hurt
and if Shakur doesn't have the power to kind of like make Navarrete stop and think, and when Navarrete stops and think, then he can go to work. It may turn out to somewhat of an ugly night for Shakur Stevens, but him and Lomachenko right now is a chess game, and in this chess game, youth is gonna have the advantage, and they're not too far apart from skills. Let's just be real.
And the longer they hold out, the longer
that more beneficial it is for Shakur Stevens.
Absolutely right.
Yeah.
No, I've been one of the folks saying, I'm not convinced. I was convinced after Saturday.
Yeah.
The aggression that he added to his game was the last missing piece. And it is effective aggression. He's not reckless. And he credited the criticism specifically from Tim Bradley.
Correct.
He knows something about going to war to entertain the fans. And he was right to do so. Good for him, for a young, brash guy. He listened, he took it to heart, he adjusted. That's his superpower in the sport moving forward, that he can learn and grow from that, add skills, add wrinkles to his game. That's incredibly impressive. Just that alone makes him limitless.
Yeah, he was definitely sensational Saturday night against Herring and against the big audience that was watching. Like I love that. Boxing needs more of that. That's how I feel we're going to create these crossover stars. You need to get eyes on these guys. Like we can't keep putting fights that aren't pay-per-view fights on pay-per-view, right? Like I'm sorry, Tank Davis should not have fought Santa Cruz. He should not have fought Barrios, and he should not be fighting Romero on pay-per-view. None of these fights are pay-per-view fights. Not one of them. Same thing with Teofimo Cambosos.
We all have to look in the mirror because we've just spent time, griping about 1.2 million viewers. 1.2 million viewers. That should be good news. The glass is half full, everybody, not half empty. Mm-hmm. And the reason HBO is out of boxing does not fit their programming demographic. They want the high-end viewers that want to watch Succession and Game of Thrones and Insecure and Euphoria, and that's not the boxing audience. It's just the bottom line.
Yep.
And to add one more thing, G Funky, it almost looking at Shakur Stevens, it almost gives you the impression that all along throughout his professional career, he was holding himself back from performing well. It almost gives you the impression that it took somebody to psychologically tap and say, hey, open the bag, look at that tool, dust it, and use it. It's obvious that he is that defensive-minded fighter, but let's be real. Comparing it to like a Floyd, which would be fair, Floyd knew when to apply pressure, when to box, when to mix it, right? And looking at this kid fight, it almost gives you the impression that he can do the same thing if he chooses to do so, because it's not a matter of opponent in front of him. Let's just be real. I mean, every opponent he's had before this one has been a little, less dangerous than Herring. Herring was the top opponent, in my opinion, for him right now. And just to see him come out and just go to work on this guy gives you the impression, now you see that if you apply the pressure, you can do great things, So it's interesting to see if he's going to come out in his next fight with that confidence. Let me mix it up real well. And if he does that, man, you're only going to see his stock go up, because when you see a very educated boxer giving you some effective pressure, mixing it up, it creates. I personally love watching that type of fighter.
He'll continue to show and add different wrinkles to his game. He's going to get a lot better.
Yeah, of course.
And I suspect that Lomachenko fight may be next, because I think Navarrete is going to move up and take on Valdez. I think that's what Arum wants.
It seems like that is what Bobby wants for sure. I'm going to go over some of these comments before we switch to the next topic. Funk or Die Boxing 510 says Navarrete, also awkward and unconventional boxer. He definitely is awkward. No doubt about that. I don't know how you prepare for a dude who throws punches like that. Chicano Prophet says, whoa, I don't know about that one. We'd love to see Shakur versus Loma, though, no doubt. And the odds would be close, I bet.
Yeah.
I think it's a very good fight as well. I don't think Loma's done like some people think. I think he's still got a chance to even be one of the best guys at 135, because we know that a lot of these dudes aren't going to be there very long.
Yeah, they're going to go up to
Timo's going to be gone. Haney could be gone soon.
Yeah.
Who knows if Ryan's even going to fight anymore? Who knows where Tank's going to be fighting his next fight? Who knows, Man, we got a lot of harsh critics out here on Jamil Herring. What was Herring's championship run?
Yeah, 3 defenses.
A legit challenge. Man.
These are the kind of people that later on complain about the state of boxing. Why isn't boxing better? Because people like you, instead of finding the good in the sport, you're more focused on glorifying whatever wrong you might think is wrong with the sport. And
anybody, I don't care what you think of skills or anything, anybody who doesn't like Jamil Herring, anybody who doesn't admire what Jamil Herring has made of himself, you have a problem way beyond your issues with boxing. That's all I got to say.
He made 3 title defenses. Mm-hmm. He had the title
defense. He had 2 years of duty in Iraq.
Out of the game, he lost.
And I see a lot of people.
Not everyone holds the title for 10 title defenses like Klitschko. It's not everyone can do that.
Well,
I was high on Tyson Fury. He had no title defenses until now. Herring has 3.
In the division, he was the longest standing title holder.
Correct.
In the division, remember, everybody else is either a newcomer or, we've got, Valdez, who just won the title. So
but that's what I mean, Gail. They are so focused on looking for the rust and exposing the rust.
Here's the thing: when you fight good guys, sometimes you take an L. when the division is good and top competition is fighting top competition, not everyone's going to hold on to their title for 5-6 years.
Floyd Mayweather syndrome.
That's what makes it fun. That's what makes it interesting.
Is look at the fights of the year, the last 10 years. How many of them were for belts? Not a lot of them. How many do you remember whether they were for belts or not? You don't know. A good fight is a good fight.
Joe Lopez here says
belts matter to knowledgeable fans very little.
Yeah.
The key word is that K word, knowledgeable.
Joe Lopez says Tank will be fighting Lightning Rod Salka next. Ooh, man.
What's going on with everybody? All cranky? Are you hangry? What's it? What's the deal? Do you need a nap?
I'll say this, man. I mean, Herring was a legit champion. He was a legit challenge, and he was the best opponent that Shakur had been in there with. And Shakur dismantled him, man. So, I mean, we got to give him that. If anything, you guys in the chat, we got to give him that. Funk or Die Boxing 510 with the $4.99 says hashtag HCP. Appreciate the support, man. Appreciate it. Go ahead, Beeb, and then we're going to go to the next topic.
Lomachenko made 3 title defenses, and then he lost his title to Teofimo Lopez.
Ding, 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 ding.
I mean, it happens when you fight good guys. You're going to lose your title.
Right. Let's go on to the next topic. This is an interesting topic, I think, before we head into the second hour where we get into the juicy topics, okay? But Terrence Crawford was quoted recently, and he's got an upcoming fight with Sean Porter. And he says, on paper, Porter is my toughest fight. So my question for you guys is this. Will this be Crawford's toughest fight? And what do you think he means by on paper? Do you think he's being sarcastic or kind of like brushing Porter aside? Like, yeah, I guess on paper he is, but, So I want to get you guys' thoughts. Gail, I'm gonna start with you. What do you think about what Terrence Crawford had to say here?
I think you can take that with an absolutely straight face. We spent time with Crawford in Las Vegas during Fury Wilder 3 weekend over at the Top Rank gym. He likes Porter. You know, they know they have a fight to promote. They agree between them. You know, it's all business. They got to get on each other. They got to get up for this. There's a lot of respect there. I don't think he was in any way throwing shade at him. If people think there is, it's, you know, it's their overlay on his words. He's simply looking at, hey, look at his record. Look who he's fought, your resume, the eye test, the whole thing. When he added those two words on paper, he's saying, look at the record. You know, don't look at the numbers. On paper, yeah, he's his toughest opponent to date. Fair statement. I think you can take it at face value.
Okay, good stuff there, Gail. Raw, what do you think, man? Crawford says Porter the toughest on paper for him. What do you think, man?
Well, you know, he's not lying. I don't think he's only the toughest opponent on paper. I would argue that he's possibly the toughest opponent in the ring, because when he fought Kell Brook, what kind of Kell Brook did he fought? When he fought when he fought an Amir Khan, who was Amir Khan? When he's fought all of these names, with the exception of what was his name? Mean Machine. What was his name?
Kavalauskas.
Yeah, with the exception of him, I mean, let's be real, they have not been at their top. And I would argue that although that to me this would be his toughest test, I would argue, without diminishing Porter here, that Porter may not be the same Porter we've seen the last time. I mean, this fight, in my opinion, I'm glad it's taking place, but man, I wish it would have taken place just a little sooner. Just a little sooner. But don't go to sleep. That relentless pressure that Porter applies, good upper body movement, closing the gap, staying at a mid-range and in, putting that head in the chest and going to work, may have an effect. The pace of the fight itself may have an effect. So I think this has potential to be a very, very good fight. So I'm excited for it.
I'm excited for the fight as well, man. And everybody knows I like Terrence Crawford. I think he beats everyone at 147. That's just my opinion. But Beeb, I want to get your thoughts on this, man, before I give my thoughts. What do you think about what Crawford said here about Shawn Porter?
Well, on paper, yeah. I mean, you can argue that Shawn Porter has arguably the best resume in the welterweight division. If you really want to think about it, he fought Spence, fought Danny Garcia, fought Keith Thurman, you know, fought Paulie Malignaggi, he fought Kell Brook. He's got a great resume at welterweight. But I think what Terrence Crawford's probably getting at is styles makes fights, right? He knows Shawn Porter. Maybe he sees something. Obviously, he respects Shawn Porter, but maybe it may not be as tough that night in the ring that people may anticipate, right? Maybe he sees some openings. Maybe he's looking at Shawn Porter because, again, Terrence Crawford worked with his dad, Kenny Porter, in the amateurs. So they kind of worked alongside each other. They know each other. I'm sure they've seen each other train and they've watched each other spar, and they've been around each other for a long time growing up. So, you know, he knows them. So he probably feels that come fight time that he could probably surprise some people and maybe exploit some of Shawn Porter's weaknesses. So the resume and the record, obviously, like Gail said, can't be denied. It's on paper for everyone to see. Can't be erased. It's etched in time, right?
Correct.
But when they get in the ring, what happens that night is also going to be etched in time, and maybe, you know, he could have a stellar performance against a very top level guy. So that's probably what he's probably alluding to. I would suspect.
Yeah, I think I agree on paper and I guess you could say reality. I don't know. This is definitely the best fight for Terrence Crawford. I mean, we could go to guys like Victor Postal at 140, Yuriorkis Gamboa 135 at the time. You know, Gamboa was still a really good fighter at that time, and Gamboa was getting down, man, those first 4 rounds in that fight. So I mean, those were tough fights for Crawford as well. The Kavalauskas fight was tough here and there. You know, I felt like that should have been ruled a knockdown. Either way, it doesn't matter because Crawford got up and stopped the guy anyway. But as far as recently, I would say this is definitely his toughest opponent. I really like Sean Porter as a fighter. That guy is really good, and he's all about that smoke, man. I mean, we're talking about guys he lost to, but look, he's been in the ring with all these guys: Spence, Thurman, Brooke. Now he's getting ready to fight Crawford, the first guy to cross the street. You know, that quote unquote street that the PBC has laid out there at 147.
Yeah.
He's a great fighter. I love the pressure. I love the volume. I love how he's able to make angles when he gets guys up against the ropes and create space, things like that. He's a really, really good fighter, and I'm looking forward to this fight. But like I said, man, this is just my opinion. I know there's a lot of people in the chat that are probably going to disagree with me, but I think he beats all these guys. I really do. I just think Crawford is that good. I mean, he's a switch hitter. That's something that you have to take into consideration. He can switch stances at any time he wants to, and most of the time when he does that, the fight changes dramatically. So I really like Terrence Crawford. I think he's going to win this fight, but I think it's going to be a good fight because I do not think that Sean Porter is going to lay down here, man. I don't. I mean, he pushed Errol Spence to the limit as well. That fight it could have went either way in a lot of people's opinions. So we are now joined by Dave from the 408 from the Shoe Shine Boxing here on YouTube. Make sure you guys subscribe to the Shoe Shine Boxing here. What's going on, Dave? How you doing,
What's
man?
going on, everybody? Nice to see everybody.
What's up, Dave?
Yeah, good to have you here, man. I want to get your thoughts on this topic here. Terrence Crawford says that on paper, Sean Porter is his toughest opponent. What do you think, man? Do you agree with that or no?
I'm going to definitely agree with that. And I'm excited too, because I'm going to actually be there that night. I think not only on paper, but in real life, this is actually probably his most difficult test now at welterweight. And one thing of concern with me with Terrence Crawford was his age, because we know he's getting up there. He's now 34. He's got kind of the time is starting to tick away for him to make, possibly a run at a championship at 154 pounds. But at 147, it's been rather weak. Other than the Mean Machine, it's been kind of a weak. He's had very poor opposition. Other than that, so this is really the most difficult test that we're going to see him in against a former champion and an athlete. Right? He's so athletic. So I'm really excited about this.
Yep. Man, I see a lot of people with a lot of mixed opinions in the chat, man. But hey, that's why we're here, man. HCP doesn't censor anyone. We want to know all your guys' honest thoughts on this thing, man. But I'm really looking forward to this fight. I can't wait to see that crossing of the street. You know what I'm saying?
Interesting point too. When Crawford fought Jeff Horn, obviously he was favored. People expected him to win. But a lot of people, and even myself included, I thought it was going to be an ugly fight. I thought Jeff Horn would make him work for every second of every round, in that fight. But Crawford just bossed him. He didn't let Horn use his size, and Crawford's a lot stronger than people, I think, give him credit for.
Yes.
Yeah, he's a physically strong guy on the inside. You could see when he's in there, he knows how to maneuver and push guys back, and he can grapple a little bit and wrap them up and walk them back. So Porter's roughhouse tactics, I think he's going to try to get in close and stuff. But I think Crawford's strength will be able to help him deal with Porter on the inside. And I think Crawford himself is a pretty good inside fighter as well. So
if I might add too, I think the focus that people are taking in this fight is completely wrong. I think we should forget about Porter's last 4 fights, because we're talking about styles here. And whoever says that Porter's style is not going to give you your money's worth, I would argue they've never seen this guy fight. We can't complain when we get a great fight and then say, "Oh Porter's lost 4 times." I mean, we can't. And then the guy doesn't fight Porter, and we complain because he's fighting somebody other than Porter. Or this is what makes a great boxing match. This is what's gonna, me as a fan, I'm gonna sit down and actually enjoy. I mean, whether I'm covering the fight live or whether, it doesn't matter. I'm actually gonna enjoy. And I personally don't care that Porter has not been successful in a lot of his big appearances. I think just Porter itself, his style, his relentless pressure is going to give me, the fan, what I'm looking for, which is a bit of excitement in a good fight.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
Yeah.
Ricardo Mayorga was never the guy that was like, oh my gosh, what a great boxer. He's won every single time he stepped in. But when he fought, he gave you a damn fight.
Beat Vernon Forrest.
Exactly.
Vernon
Great
Forrest
win.
twice. Beat him
Exactly.
twice. Not just one, but twice.
Yeah, twice. Great wins.
Mm-hmm.
And so just let's enjoy what we got. I mean, when we get a good fight in boxing, let's enjoy it, because then I hear all the complaints about, oh, that fight's boring. Well, when you had a good one, you complained. Now you have a bad one, you also complain. So you know, it is what it is.
Yeah, and you know, another thing about Mayorga, not to get too off topic, but he had a big win that put him in position to fight Vernon Forrest when he beat Andrew Six Hands Lewis. He was not supposed to win that fight either.
That was another great win.
Knocked him clean out as well. So I mean, you know, anybody else want to add to this topic before we take a small break and give the sponsor some time, and then we'll get into the next hour where we will be talking about Plant against Canelo's last 5 opponents. Anybody want to talk anything about Crawford Porter before we switch over?
It's time for those sponsors to get their due.
That's right. HCP, the official sponsor of HCP, loyalroots.com. Make sure you go to loyalroots.com. Check them out. Here's a word from them, and we'll be right back.
I am the underdog, misjudged and overlooked. Some say I don't belong. I shouldn't be here. I can't keep up. I won't last. I'm not good enough, not well connected. I haven't paid my dues. But guess what? I don't care. I won't listen. I can't stop. I won't stop. I refuse. I know what is within me, even if you can't see it. I have more passion than skill. I have more grit than finesse. I am unafraid to fail. I am all these things, and I am more. I dream. I believe. I hustle. I struggle. I grind. I succeed. And I repeat these steps every day. It's my process. I am a creative. So, who are you?
That's right, LoyalRoots.com, the official sponsor of Hispanics Causing Panic. Make sure you guys go there. He represents the 916 Northern California. He's got Giants, A's, Raiders, San Francisco 49ers, all that good stuff there. Check him out and other things as well. So make sure you guys check him out, LoyalRoots.com. But speaking of the underdog, all right, we got ourselves a big underdog next weekend in one Mr. Caleb Plant. All right. And there's some people out there that think he's got a chance. Me personally, I don't. But you know, I'm going to ask the panel a question here, right? And I just want to see what you guys think. Now I'm going to put this up here on the screen, and I don't mean to block anybody out, but this is Canelo's last 5 opponents right here. Now I'm going to go one by one. I want to get everyone's record here, what they think Caleb Plant's record would be. I don't want to break down, but I want to know, what do you think his record would be here against these 5 opponents? And tell me who you think he would beat and who you think he would lose to. So let's start with Joe Habib. What do you think, man? How does Plant do against these last 5 guys right here?
The only person on that list that I think Plant would beat, with all due respect, is Anvi Yildirim. I think he would lose to every single other fighter there. That's just my opinion. With all due respect, I would pick every single fighter on that list over him except for Yildirim.
Woo, man. Beeb goes 1-4 for Mr. Caleb Plant. Gail, I want to know what your opinion is on this. What is Caleb Plant's record against these 5 opponents for Canelo?
At the risk of sounding like a rerun, exactly the same. Exactly the same. Yeah. I don't see him beating any of these guys. Maybe he'd fight a closer fight with Saunders, but that's the most I can give him. Jacobs takes him out. Callum Smith, especially the version we just saw in his comeback fight, would take him out. I think Kovalev would take him out. He honestly, although Canelo drilled him, he was winning on the cards to that point. So that's best I can give you there, boy. 1-4. Sorry.
Hey, no apologies here. We let you
Oh,
say
I'm
what you gotta
apologizing to
say.
him, not any of you.
All right. Raw boxing. What do you
Uh,
think Caleb Plant does here, man?
sort of similar. I do think Caleb Plant easily beats Yildirim. The first name when I seen this list, I was like, oh yeah, Daniel Jacob takes him out. Billy Joe Saunders, I think, outboxes him as well. Colin Smith, no question. But I will say this. Styles make fight, and I would give him a chance maybe against Sergey Kovalev, but only depending if he can handle outboxing Kovalev from the out, and if he can handle the pressure that Kovalev puts, how well he cuts the ring. I don't know. I don't want to say, 4-1, or 1-4, but it's looking like that's the most realistic one to me. I think as of now, the only one I have him beating for sure is Yildirim.
Okay, so 1-4 for you as well, Raw, huh?
Yeah, because I mean the Kovalev is depending on too many factors, even timing. I mean, I'm back in time and counting that he can perform with very good boxing skills at 175, counting that Kovalev is not in great shape. There's too much counting in there, but for sure he beats Yildirim.
For real.
All right. And you guys in the chat, don't forget, I want to get your guys' feedback as well. Let me know what you guys think Plant's record would be against Canelo's last 5 opponents. Dave from the 48, let me know what you think, man. How does he do against these last 5 opponents here?
Great minds think alike, right? 1-4. Avni Yildirim is the only guy he gets past. But I will say this, that Daniel Jacobs has not impressed me at 168 pounds since making the leap. So perhaps he might come close there in a decision, but I still have Daniel Jacobs edging him. He's, Plant's resume at 168 is really not that impressive. So I have to say that all these, Billy Joe Saunders outboxes him. Caleb Smith possibly knocks him out with the size and power and reach. Sergey Kovalev knocks him out, and maybe he outpoints Daniel Jacobs, but very unlikely. So 1-4, that was too easy. We all agree.
Man, I see a lot of people going at Plant hard in the chat, man. They're saying
Hey, it's undeniable. The people are with us too. They're all, hey, you guys are.
Yeah.
They get it.
I see my boy Sergio here saying, I have Kovalev knocking Plant out with a jab. Woo! Well, he's got a really good, powerful jab, though. Yeah, he does.
It's a power jab.
Yeah. Say what you will about, the 2021 version of Kovalev. The jab has always been one of the best.
Absolutely.
Funny about your comment, too, Funker Die, about Caleb Plant being chinny. When Canelo spoke to the media this week on a call, he said, I hope he has a chin because he's going to need one.
He's going to need it. Yes, sir.
He's right.
We got the biggest Canelo hater, Philly Drew.
Yeah. That's my boy Dave from the 408's co-host every Monday night on the Shoe Shine. Philly Irish Eagle says 3-2.
So it's 3-2. Well, who's the 3 and who's the 2?
Let us know. Let us know.
Who's on the 2?
Let us know, man. So I'm going to say this, man. And I like what you said, Dave, about great minds thinking alike. But I'll say this. Look, I'm going to say Plant goes 2-3 against these 5. Obviously, Yildirim, we know that's a gimme right there. I think he beats Yildirim. Although I agree with what Chicano Prophet said in the chat. I still think that goes 12. Like, I don't think Plant stops him, but I think he beats him pretty convincingly. And I have to agree with what you said, Dave, about Daniel Jacobs. He did not look good to me at all since he's been at 168 pounds. He had a so-so performance against a disgrace of a fighter in Chavez Jr. And then he looked like, 6 feet of dog shit against Rosado. That was a terrible fight, in my opinion.
Rosado beat him.
Yeah, that was a terrible fight. So I would say I would slightly favor him against Jacobs. I think it would be like a controversial decision for Plant if that fight was to happen, but it's still a close one. in my opinion. It's still a very close fight, but I would say 2 and 3. Let's see. Philly Irish here says Smith and Billy Joe Saunders, he loses to. So, damn, he beats everyone else. Kovalev, he beats
You don't beat
Yildirim.
Kovalev. You don't beat Kovalev.
I mean, this Kovalev, I think he could. This Kovalev is so outside of what Kovalev is.
Yeah, but Kovalev, the Kovalev that beat Yard, that guy was supposed to be past it, and look what he did against Yard. He knocked Yard down with a jab.
Yeah,
knocked him out with a jab. Yeah,
practically. Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, Kovalev's a tough fight for Plant. I think. I don't care at what time. If we take him now or we take him the Yard or the one that fought Canelo.
Kovalev's a good fighter, man. He's a very underrated boxer too.
Oh no, I agree.
Absolutely.
I just think his outside of the ring activities is what's taking a toll in him.
Oh yeah,
that too. That too. So now let's reverse the question, okay? And again, I want everyone in the chat to participate
this
in
is
this
gonna
as
be
well.
This is funny.
Do we even have to ask the question?
Just to
I don't
be
know.
fair,
That Viking Butts is a tough mother.
Oh man, I don't know. You got to look out for Porky Medina there at the bottom. But
Hey, I love me some Porky. Come on, he's right there. Him and Chris Ariola, man. My guilty pleasure boxers.
Let me get your thoughts, Gail. How does Canelo do against these 5 right here? What's his record?
You know, if he's feeling like a nice guy and he had a good round of golf earlier that weekend, he might toy with him for a few rounds. Other than that, 5 fighters, 5 wins, maybe 12 total rounds. That's about it. If he decided to play with his food, well, maybe 15 rounds. We'll give him 3 apiece. Yeah,
all right.
This is rough, man. This is just rough.
Yes.
And now,
yes, it is.
when we say 3 rounds apiece, we'll make that an average because we all know Mike Lee's going about a round and Feigenbut's about a round and a half. So you sprinkle the rest of them around. I think Medina lasts the longest.
Yeah, he might. I think he might. Hey, who knows? Uzcategui, now that he's taking the EPO, might be a challenge. Who knows? But my man, 408. What do you think here, man? How does Canelo do against these 5 opponents?
I think he comes up with 5 knockouts.
Yep.
Oh, without a doubt. I mean, damn.
Yeah.
I mean, most of these people, most of these opponents, he'll make them look like Yildirim did. Like a Yildirim.
Yeah, exactly.
My boy Pound for Pound says, why y'all doing Plant like this? Hey, man, we got to be fair, okay? We did Canelo. Now we got to do his, okay? We're not, we're not leaving his resume out there, okay? But Beeb, what do you think here, man? I want to know your thoughts.
I'll do you one better, right? I think Canelo would beat all 5 of them, but I think the 4 people that beat Plant would also beat all 5 of these guys.
Oh,
you gotta love Beeb. Man.
Yeah, Luis Torres in the chat. You're right. It's just short of being charged with murder. All 5.
Puro Sur Central says 5 Yildrims.
Damn.
Raw boxing, man. I gotta ask the question, man. What do you think, man? What's his record here?
I think Callum Smith knocks him out, all of them. So let's leave Canelo out of the picture to try to kind of make it a little fair. I think Callum Smith kills all of these guys. And then as far as Uzcategui, you can leave Uzcategui with his HRT program and Canelo will still knock him out.
There we go, man. Tony Boswell here in the chat. I want to highlight his comment. It says, much respect, G Funky, and the panel salute to the chat. Stopped in to show support and hit the like button. Working the double. Hey, man, we appreciate you, and you're a big supporter of HCP, man. We appreciate all you do for us,
man.
Much
respect for that double. Damn.
Shout out to Tony, man. He's always supporting all of us, and man.
Yes, he is,
thank
man.
you, Tony. Thank you.
That guy is a big time supporter.
One difference with the Uzcategui fight is after Canelo beats the crap out of him, they'll both go out to dinner afterward for some nice big Mexican steaks.
Yeah.
There you go. And another comment here, it says all 5 go life and death with Yodrum.
I think we're enjoying this a little too much, everybody.
Let's ask Drew Evo who he thinks is gonna win this coming fight. I'm interested to hear from Drew Evo.
Yeah, Drew, if you're still there, let us know in the chat what you think, man. But I'm going to say this, man, and Beav and I, we were talking a little bit about this before we went live, but I'll tell you this, man. You could put Canelo in a WWE ring, give it handicap match rules, all right? 5-on-1. He beats all these guys at the same time, all right? All of them at the same time. 5-on-1. I think he beats them all. No doubt about it. Okay. And anybody else that says anything different, I mean, you should really go see a head doctor and get yourself examined. Okay. Because Canelo beats the dog crap out of all of these guys. And I'll say this. Look, there's some people out there who are picking Plant, and look, that's fine. You got a feeling Plant's going to win. I say go with your gut. I picked a lot of underdogs this year. You know, I picked Franco to beat Maloney in the first fight. I picked McCaskill to beat Baracus. I picked Lopez to beat Loma. I picked Valdez to beat Burchelt. These are all big underdogs. So, I mean, it could happen. But I just don't see it here.
Yeah, boxing is the sport of the unknown, right? But the problem every Canelo fan opponent is going to face, it's not just a Canelo that can fight. It's not just a Canelo that can move. It's a Canelo that can take a punch. Sometimes he's willing to take it, to come to the mid-range, destroy your body, to get you to drop those hands, and then take your head off. And that is the problem a lot of his opponents are going to face. It's going to take somebody with serious pop in his hands to get Canelo's respect. I mean, not every fighter at that division, with the exception, arguably, David Benavidez, but then you know what I've said about David Benavidez, what I see in the way he fights. But with the exception of David Benavidez, there's just isn't, in my opinion, anybody with enough power to get Canelo's respect, to bring Canelo to a serious stop in like, ooh, do I want to do this? Because I don't really like that power. You see what I'm saying? So I don't know, man. It's going to be hard.
The only guys that can beat Canelo have a chance. I call them the killer bees. Beterbiev, Benavidez, and for completely different reasons, Dimitri Bivol. Those are the only 3 guys currently on the scene that I think threaten him in the slightest. In the slightest.
Yeah.
Who else is there? I'd love to hear more names because I'd love to see him in more competitive fights. I can't find any.
Yeah. If I could name one of, and I agree with you, Gail, I agree that those are really good fights for Canelo. The only other guy that I would possibly throw in there would be, if he moves up and he needs to move up or needs to stop talking, is Demetrius Andrade. I think he would give a pretty decent challenge to Canelo. But other than that, I see nothing else at the current moment. Maybe Morel when he gets a little more seasoned. We'll see.
He is still too young.
I had hopes for Berlanga to become something because that big fight between Puerto Rico and Mexico is always a good one. But I mean, it's looking like we need to pump the brakes for right now.
Berlanga better worry about getting past David Morrell before he can even think of a
Canelo. I picked David Morrell over Plant too.
Ooh. I did too.
Ooh, yeah,
wow, yeah. I think that Sebastian Fundora has a better chance than most of these guys of beating Canelo. He just needs to pack on about 45 more pounds. That's all.
That's a big kid.
Yeah. We got the Uber Lenga chats in the chat. Go ahead.
Here they come. Here they come. You know, the only other guy that I think has potential against Canelo, and he would go down swinging in an entertaining fight, would be Joe Smith Jr. That'd be a blast. And that'd be a great fan fight.
I do like that fight.
Yeah, very blue collar guy.
Yeah, blue collar Northeast crowd versus the SoCal Mexican Southwest fans. That part would be a lot of fun. So that'd be a fight that would really sell. Very makeable. But the light heavyweights, other than Canelo, have got to sort things out a little bit for themselves. They've also had a lot of cancellations. So we'll see how it all shakes out. 2022, I think we'll see this all become a little clearer. In the meantime, Canelo can cash another check and go out on the golf course.
Yep.
I want to read this comment here from Divine Sense Boxing. Make sure you guys subscribe to Divine Sense. He's been around a long time here on YouTube. He says, everyone thinks that the only kind of boxer that can beat Canelo is another puncher. Someone who can hurt Canelo. I don't agree. A pure boxer beats Canelo. By the way, I got Canelo, but it will be tough.
Yeah, I
agree with what you say. I think a boxer.
I think it's a
and
boxer
I said this.
too.
Yeah, and I said this in the last fight with Saunders. I said, movement does give Canelo problems. I mean, we've seen it in the past. You know,
we had Lara beating him, right?
I
That's why you
think
just
Lara
heard
beat
me.
him.
That's why you just heard me put Dimitri Bivol on the list.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or
Bivol,
Boo Boo Andrade.
and
Yeah.
fair enough, we haven't seen so little of Bivol the last couple of years. You may have forgotten just how skilled he is.
Yeah, he's
Yeah.
a good fighter.
We got over
He
half the
would
panel
be
here
a
that thinks.
problem for Canelo.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
got over half the panel here that thinks that Erislandy Lara beat Canelo. So I mean, we agree with you, Divine, that boxing can give him trouble.
I
I just
thought
don't. I just don't think Plant's the one.
I
mean,
thought
just
Lara
don't.
could beat Canelo as well, but to kind of go to back to what I was saying, because I want to make sure I'm understood. I'm not saying a puncher is gonna beat Canelo. Let's take it back to BJ. Imagine if BJ would have had more power than he had. Do you think Canelo would have decided to just push forward and truck through him? No, right? It probably would have brought him to sort of a stop. Let me think at it a little more. Let me pick my shots. Well, guess what? Too late, because BJ Saunders was doing a pretty good job. And if on top of that, he can make you stop and prevent you from doing whatever you want by just simply having more pop. He doesn't have to knock you out. All he's got to do is neutralize whatever you're bringing by simply having you think about his power. And while you think about his power, he's dancing circles around you.
Yeah.
Agreed.
So yeah, we had a little fun there with that.
G Funky, I'm curious from the chat if we played this fantasy 5 years ago and with a crop of fighters at 168 like Chunky DeGale, Lucien Boutte, Badu Jack, like, because that resume we just pulled up of Plant, that was really weak. Like, how does Canelo fare against that crop? Just going back 5 years, you know, would we have had a more entertaining card fights?
Different division for sure, man. But I mean, well, I'd have to sit down and think about it, but different division for sure, man. But let's move on. I feel like we've drove the nail into the coffin with that one. But let's talk about one Mr. Anthony Joshua, who's made his search for a new trainer very public, which is kind of odd. I mean, I don't think I've ever recalled a fighter doing this. Now, I know we're in the social media era and stuff like that, but even then, I still haven't seen something like this. But he stated in an IFL interview, shout out to them, by the way, that he's tired with effing losing. And he's on a search for a new trainer. So, you know, I want to get your guys' thoughts about this. What do you think about what Joshua has been saying here? Gail, I want to start with you. Oh, you're on mute.
Sorry, guys. It's an interesting way he's gone about this. I applaud his transparency. We don't know if he's had a discussion with McCracken or not and is carrying on his business. I hope he has. I hope he's been man enough to do that and say, listen, I thank you for getting me to this point. I need a change. He owes him that at the very least. I do think it's interesting that he's practically auditioning trainers. I'm not sure he has a good sense of his worth. Some trainers, no matter how visible he is, they've got other fish to fry. They've got other priorities. They need to come to an agreement. It's not as if he crosses the threshold of their gym and they're just dying to bring him in. My concern also is, AJ is not exactly visiting Omaha and Philadelphia. He's visiting LA and Las Vegas. I have my doubts about his desire to keep going. How hard does he really want to work? The truth is he can make money in a whole lot of other ways. He is an absolute superstar. He is the LeBron James of Great Britain. He is recognized on the street. He's an influencer in his own right. He's a celebrity way beyond sport. There's a lot of easier ways for that man to make money. I mean, if nothing else, modeling, he'd make a fortune. I I think he needs to carry on in boxing through, I would think sheer pride alone would keep him going. But I worry about his motivation. At his level of the sport, it is very, very tough. He's got to be in with the right guy. The Reynoso camp's not the right place for him. The work ethic, the culture, it's not it. I really don't think Southern California is a good spot for him. There's a lot of distractions in the entertainment industry that would be very alluring to him, which I am sure is exactly why he's there. No, he needs to be somewhere like Philly. He needs to be somewhere where he gets up in the morning to go out and do his road work, and it's just he's freezing his ass off. He needs to be toughened up a little bit. And Southern California, I get it. There's a lot of good sparring. All right, fly him out here, let him do his sparring, let him go back to whatever, dirty, broken down gym he's in. I don't know that Bomac would take him in, but he can't get in a lot of trouble in Omaha or Colorado Springs. But, he's not visiting those garden spots.
Yeah. Gales wants AJ to go out there and survive the elements like Rocky V. Go out there, chop wood in the snow.
Toughen him up. Toughen his hide up.
There you go. She's old school, baby. I like it. So 408, Dave, I want to know your thoughts on this, man. What do you think about AJ saying that he's tired of effing losing and he's on a public search for a new trainer, man? What do you think?
First I want to applaud him because that post era when he fought Andy Ruiz and lost, he sought out after sports therapists to help him with what he thought it was kind of broken up here, right? And not too many fighters do something like that. That took a lot of courage to get help there. But now he's got something broken again, and now he thinks it's his training. So I applaud him for his sportsmanship after the last fight against Usyk. But I don't know if there's anyone in the U.S. that's going to help fix Anthony Joshua. Like, to me, what I see Anthony Joshua's main problem, and always has been, is that he's too bulky, too muscular, right? And he hasn't exactly found that right sweet spot in his weight where he needs to be that'll carry him the full 12 rounds. Because now he's facing guys like Usyk, who he's going to most likely have that rematch with, that do have that figured out and do have the stamina to outbox him for 12 rounds. So is it a strength and conditioning coach that he's really looking for? I mean, I don't know if he's going to find someone in the U.S. to help fix that specific issue, but I applaud him for trying. And I agree 100% with Gail. I like the idea of him going somewhere on the East Coast like Philadelphia. My co-host is from Philly, and we were on a panel, and they said, this guy sounds like every Philly boxing coach I've ever heard. So shout out to Drew for that. But I'm not too sure he's going to find what he's looking for, especially like Gail pointed out on the West Coast. There's way too many distractions, especially with Hollywood calling him. I mean, he's got that going on in the UK, and he's got that crossover appeal. And I kind of find that that's basically what's going on with Ryan Garcia too right now, is that he's got too many options.
Yeah. Ryan Garcia can make a shit ton of money a lot easier than being in the boxing ring. He can. Yep. So, folks, boxing's hard. It's hard. It's a really hard way to make money. Yeah. Until you get to the elite level, you're not making those big dollars. He's got enough followers on social media to monetize himself there with sponsorships, which he already is. He's making more money out of the ring than he is in the ring right now due to his commercial sponsorships.
Yeah, Galen, to that effect, I mean, that generation right there is the generation that's nailed that, how to monetize your name, image, and likeness. I mean, they just have it down.
Absolutely
these fighters in their 30s, it's a different generation. They don't know how to do that.
Yeah, so good stuff, guys. I agree. And boxing is a very difficult sport. If I could quote Andrew Galata after his loss to Mike Tyson. But Beeb, I want to get your thoughts on this, man. Joshua was saying that he's fucking tired of losing, and he's out on a public search all over the internet, putting it everywhere that he's looking for a new trainer, man. What are your thoughts on this?
I agree with a lot of the people in the chat. I think he's soul searching right now. He's looking for answers. He's trying to reinvent himself. But people forget that just like Wilder, he started late too. He started around 18, 19 years old. Him and Wilder are just blessed with great fast twitch muscle fibers. They're both strong, athletic men. And I wouldn't say either one of them are pure boxers. So a lot of what Joshua had to overcome and learn, he was basically saying he was learning on the job, right? And he continues to say that, I'm still learning, I'm still learning, I'm still learning. So it's like he hasn't grasped, what it is to be as a champion and fight on that championship level. Like Tyson Fury, been boxing since he was a young boy. You could tell the difference from some of these guys who've been boxing since they were young children and the guys who started late. You can see the things that are missing in some of these older guys that started late. So it's going to be hard no matter who he works with. I'm not saying he can't get better, but to totally reinvent himself, it's going to be a tall task, in my opinion. And I don't know what he can do to beat Usyk, because when I watched that fight, I saw Usyk change things up like 3 or 4 times. I saw Joshua make one change from rounds 5 through 8, and that's when he went on his little run. I had him winning 5, 6, and 8. That's when he tried to be a little bit more aggressive, but then Usyk switched it up again on him, and he made himself small, and he went inside, and he didn't let Joshua have that space to turn that right hand over. He took the distance away from Joshua, right? So it's hard. I think Ronnie Shields could help him, but I don't know if he can beat Usyk. I just think it's tough, But I think Rob McCracken may have taken him as far as he can go, and Rob McCracken's so heavily involved in the amateur boxing side of things too. So I don't know how much time he's actually spending with Joshua, because I think in the Pulev fight he was working with the amateur team, I believe. And he wasn't really spending that much time with Joshua. So I'm wondering if there's a little bit of friction because of that. Who knows? But why not give something new a shot? See what happens. But I still don't know, and I'm not sure, and I'm skeptical if that's going to be enough. I'm not against it though.
Yeah. Okay. Good stuff there, Beeb. Raw boxing. What do you think of this, man? Joshua on his search for a trainer and saying he's tired of losing.
3 things: new coach, strength and conditioning, sports psychologist. Why do I say sports psychologist? Yes, he sought out for therapy after the Ruiz loss, but I think it didn't do him well or didn't work with him long enough. Because when you see a man like AJ, as I said on my live stream, it's like when he sees danger approaching, it's like a deer on headlight. He freezes. It's like he doesn't move out of the way when he could easily move out of the way. And so I think there's still a little bit of tweak in here. Sports psychologist is definitely something that should be on your payroll constantly at that level, especially at that level. Strength and conditioning, I think if he can find a good coach to not so much tone him down, but to help increase the gas tank. Sometimes those muscles look like they can choke you, but and they can block better the blood flow through the muscles because of how swollen they get. But it all depends on the program. It all depends on the diet. It all depends on the road work then you're putting in. And as far as coach, I'm going to sound extremely biased, but I think, believe it or not, I mean, if you get somebody, look what Ismael Salas has done with Joe Joyce. Mm-hmm. Okay. I think Ismael Salas could help him, mainly because Ismael Salas can help him. Look at the work of Salas, how he helps his fighters dominate the mid distance, how he helps his fighter avoid getting cornered. And the guy knows what he's doing. He's produced 27 world champions. And so I think that's the guy for him. Somebody that's experienced both at amateur, both at a professional. I don't think Ronnie Shields is the guy for him, to be honest with you. I really don't. He needs somebody to get him out of that comfort zone that he's at. He needs to go to a rugged gym. He needs to go to somebody that's going to make him work without caring that he's AJ, the star from England. You know what I mean? That's it.
I like the Salas idea. The more I think about that, the more I like it. I mean, Buddy McGirt does have a track record for turning guys around at the end of their careers. You know, he has done
He
it.
does, yeah.
But I like the idea of him down in that atmosphere too, because if there's one place where nobody's going to look up at him as he walks down the street, it's in Florida. I mean, it's just like, who? Yeah, it's another tall, good-looking dude. I mean, that's it. That would be a good culture for him. He also will be around a lot of young, hungry fighters, which might light a bit of a fire under him versus guys that he thinks of as his peers. Here are these young guys, you know, hustling, making him, you know, maybe look bad if he doesn't put on the hustle himself. The more I think about it, the more I like it. Done deal. Done. AJ Salas. Done.
Yeah.
I think that would be a really good pairing. I just don't know if he would do that, being that he's got Joe Joyce, who's kind of climbing the ladder at heavyweight. I mean, there could be a potential matchup between those two in the future, which I think is a really good fight.
Well, Reynoso has Sanchez and Ruiz, don't it?
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah.
Look, there's this thing with AJ and his mainly is in his head, because AJ can box. AJ can box. If AJ can be psychologically tapped into seeing the punches coming and move or implement a defensive move, he would be a lot better. If AJ can control his emotions in there, his stamina will go up. I really think not only is his head coach, but one of the biggest issues with AJ, his psychological the psychological barriers he puts on himself. It's very clear to me. I'm no expert, but I know a duck when I see a duck, you know.
Maybe a little soft upstairs you know, I mean, a lot of people are on that ship as well. I'll say this, man. I think that the one guy that I think would be perfect for AJ is just not with us anymore, and that's Manny Stewart. I feel like that would be a guy going down to that Crunk gym would be the perfect shakeup for him. Unfortunately, Manny Stewart passed away a few years back. And now his nephew is training Tyson Fury. So I don't see that happening, because there's a potential matchup there as well. And they're still actually talking about making that fight because of all the money that can be made over there in the UK. Yeah, it's tough, man. Like, here's what I question about the whole thing. Look, I'm okay with him coming out and saying, look, I'm tired of fucking losing. You know, I mean, I like the competitive nature. Like, nobody likes to lose when they're on this level, right? So I don't mind that. I just think that, I don't know, I kind of question the whole motivation behind this, like making it so public, you know? It's bizarre to me. Like, I've never seen a fighter do this. It's always been like, when a guy changes trainers, like, it's done behind closed doors. They have a meeting, they talk about it, and then they announce it. Yeah, we're going back in, we'll fight this guy, and I got a new trainer now. You know, like, it's just, I know, and I understand, again, we're in the social media era where there's a camera everywhere, you know, but I just feel like, I don't know, maybe I could be wrong, but I feel like maybe I don't know. I'm not feeling the whole thing, you know.
But also, we should not mistake that level of public honesty, so to speak, for weakness. This could actually help him. But what I was saying, to get AJ out of that comfort zone, y'all remember what Marvin Hagler used to say, you know, in order for me to stay focused, in order for me to fully focus on a fight, I have to go to prison. And prison was his training camp, meaning he would even he eat boxing, breathes boxing, drinks boxing, wakes up and sees a punching bag, goes to the restroom, smells the sweat. You need to get celebrity AJ, King of England AJ, out of that status and throw him in the dirt. Put him through boot camp. You know, work with him psychologically, and we might see something. Unfortunately, I want to ruin the party. I still don't see him beating Usyk. I just don't. But I also don't see him being done or a stepping stone in the heavyweight division by no means whatsoever. So
Yeah, and I'll segue into this, man, because it's related to the topic. Usyk says that he is confident he'll be retaining in the rematch, and he says this. These are quotes. I won't celebrate like Ruiz.
He ain't gonna eat
And he
500
doesn't
tacos.
care. Yeah, and he doesn't care about the trainer tour that AJ's on as well. So, what do you guys think of what Usyk sounding very confident and says, "I ain't gonna take my focus away from the fight like Ruiz."
Gee, I want to go back to what you said about like him being public with this.
Sure, go ahead.
A lot of times when people do this, it's like they're almost crying out for help. Number one, and number two, he's listening to a lot of the criticism, and it's almost like he wants to address the criticism, talking about like fighters, like fans are saying that he doesn't have the dog in him. People are saying that he needs to change his trainer. So now I think he's he wants to speak out to the fans and let him know that, this is what I'm doing. You guys criticize me for this, this, and this. This is how I'm addressing this, this, and this. You know what I mean? So it's almost like he's trying to bare his soul to everybody. Almost,
yeah,
almost like a catharsis,
Yeah. DTRO 545 says boot camp, send him to Ann Wolf. She's tough. Let me tell you, she is tough.
She'll break him.
She would kill him. She'd mess up that pretty face. Oh my.
Yeah. So,
but I would pay to watch that.
Oh yes. Oh yes.
I love Ann Wolf.
And he needs somebody like that that's going to tell him to his face what it is. I really believe that. But Beeb, I want to get your thoughts on what Usyk had to say, man, that he won't celebrate like Ruiz and he doesn't give a damn about this public training tour that AJ's on.
Well, Usyk, again, he's been fighting his whole life. Another one of those schooled amateurs, right?
Mm-hmm.
So he's always been disciplined. He eats, sleeps, and drinks the sport of boxing. So I take him at his word. I don't question him for 1 second that he's not going to go out partying. And if I was him, I would try to bring the fight to the Ukraine like he said he wanted to. I would love to see him do that, right?
Oh yeah.
So
they'll sell it out. The Ukraine.
Oh yeah.
You can put that. You can put that fight at the Shakhtar Donetsk Stadium and they'll sell it out. They'll pack 90,000.
You know why I want to see him bring it to the Ukraine? Because this is a guy that's always fought on the road. I think his last 9 fights. I think his last 9 fights, he's fought in someone else's backyard. Half of his fights have been on foreign soil. Not like he's always been the road warrior, right? So
I want to address a comment.
He deserves a home.
Sure, go ahead, Ron.
He deserves a home field fight.
Yeah, absolutely.
Correct.
Does.
I agree. I want to address the comment from Mario Brown, if I could. I mean, he says, I can't teach hard. You either got it or you just don't have it. But the problem with that comment that I have is AJ has shown heart. Don't mistake losing with lack of heart. When AJ got dropped by Vladimir, if he had no heart, he could have stayed. If he had no heart, he would have never fought back. That wasn't an easy fight for AJ, by no means at all. If AJ didn't have heart, he could have stayed in the corner versus whatchamacallit, Usyk. Usyk was putting the gloves on this kid. Again, don't mistake heart with the psyche. There's something in here blocking him. There's something in here, and when I say sports psychologist, that's the reason I say that. It's real easy to just spit on him now. Oh, he lost versus Ruiz.
Yeah.
He sucks. Oh, look, he lost against Usyk. Are we forgetting who Usyk is? Yeah. Are we forgetting that Usyk, aside from Evander Holyfield, is possibly one of the greatest cruiserweights that's ever lived? Mm-hmm. Are we forgetting that Usyk has a Bible of amateur boxing as an experience? Are we forgetting that Usyk is that prisoner that I was referring to? That guy that goes into those cold mountains and trains in Ukraine. That guy that has seen it all internationally. So it's real easy to take AJ now that he's down, kick him, spit on him, but don't never forget, like Habib said, he started at 18. This
Not
isn't
only
a guy
that,
that started
Raw,
boxing at 7,
Not only that, Raw, a lack of confidence or questioning yourself doesn't mean you have no heart.
Correct.
I mean, because if you don't have heart, you wouldn't even question yourself. You would just say, forget about it. There's no need to question myself.
I'll go make some money. Let's make some movies.
Just wrap it up. pack my suitcase and get out of here.
Yeah.
Pack it in, baby. But Gail, I want to get your thoughts. Usyk saying he's not gonna party and gain 300 pounds in between the fight, and he doesn't care about AJ's trainer tour. What do you think about this?
Yeah, Usyk is wicked smart. Okay, don't let the fractured English fool you. He knows exactly what he's saying.
Right.
He's trolling a bit. He's also a guy with most very smart people also have a wicked good sense of humor, and he does. So he's entertaining himself as much as he's entertaining anybody else. Truly, this is a guy that enjoys his life. Good for him. I don't think you should read a whole lot more into it other than him, having a little fun at Andy's expense, right? And enjoying the fruits of his own labor. And he is right. It's, look at it for exactly what he said. He's not going to blow it. He finally got this amazing ultimate reward for himself, and he's worked too hard to blow it. He appreciates it. These are guys with a real work ethic. They've come up the hard way. Good for him. And he'll just keep making jokes and crazy videos and dancing and juggling and smiling that gap tooth Alfred E. Newman grin. And, we're not worthy of Usyk. We are not.
The Mad TV, that's hilarious. The Mad Magazine.
Yes, I mean, you just see him smile, and I just think, this is better than I deserve. It really is.
I want to give a big shout out to Sean Hicks here, who drops the $20 on your boy. He says, great show, guys. Respect to the panel and the entire chat. Love the passion from you all tonight. Hashtag HCP, you are all real boxing talk. Absolutely. That's what we do around here, man. But hey, make sure you guys subscribe to Long Live Boxing here on YouTube. Great channel there. They have a show every Sunday, so make sure you check them out. 408, I want to get your thoughts on this, man. What do you think about Usyk saying, that Andy Ruiz, man?
Right now, when Raw was talking about, he started listing off Usyk's accomplishments. It reminds me, just a few weeks ago, Drew, Evo, and I were on a different boxing panel, and they asked us on our take on the historic Usyk upset. And I'm like, upset? What panel am I on? What show am I on?
Thank you, sir.
Oh, man, your whole premise is off. It wasn't an upset. Not to us boxing junkies who've been following the career. Yeah, I'm going to agree with Raw on that. He may very well be the best cruiserweight in history. Not just one of, but the best cruiserweight in history. So Usyk is really not going to have to change much going into this rematch. He's not going to have to do anything, really. It's Anthony Joshua who needs to make these adjustments. And I think, like Rob was pointing out, there's something in Anthony Joshua's brain where he begins to self-doubt himself. And then if he freezes and cannot make the adjustments anymore. So on one hand, he really does need to see a sports psychologist that's going to work with him on some exercises when that happens. What happens that drives him to begin with the self-doubt and stop making the adjustments, which is what happened in the Usyk fight. And the second one is the conditioning aspect. He's, like I said prior, he's just too bulky. And he doesn't have the stamina to go 12 rounds against that type of fighter who, kudos to him. He wants to fight him again and avenge his loss. He did that against Ruiz successfully. So I don't put it past him to make those changes and get an upset over Usyk. I don't put that past him, but I find it very unlikely.
Yeah, I agree with you, Dave. He's got to leave the weights alone, man. I mean, I understand, if you want to get strong and all that, but I feel like he lifts weights to get the look, to be like a bodybuilder. Like, that's not the type of body you want to be a fighter, man. You just don't. And in the gyms that I was in and around, they would always tell their fighters, you don't need to lift weights. Okay. Like I personally feel like guys that hit the weights and then box, they're just too stiff. I feel like the way that Joshua came in for the rematch with Ruiz, where he was really thin, he had that real lean muscle look. He was moving much better. I mean, obviously he was in there with a guy who looked like a walrus that night, but I feel like his punches looked a lot faster that night. His movement was a lot better that night. That would be the first thing that I would say, get rid of those weights. But as far as what Usyk had to say, I agree 100% with him. Like, he shouldn't care about I don't care who this guy gets. I'm beating him flat out. Like, I don't care. And I'm not going to blow up like Ruiz. That's just not going to happen. He doesn't have a history of doing that. So, I mean, this is my opinion. This is what I think AJ should do. If he's going to go out and get himself a new trainer, which he's already made very public, I feel like he should take at least 1 or 2 fights before he gets back in there with Usyk. That's what I think. I said the same thing about Wilder when he got rid of Mark Breland. Why rush into a rematch with a new trainer against Tyson Fury, a guy who just knocked you out? Why not take a couple fights, get a feel for things? I think that would benefit him. Like, I feel like maybe you should take on some guy who's, I don't know, top 20. Then maybe give Ruiz a rematch or a third fight because you owe him one. All right, you're 1-1 with the guy. Fight him, and if you beat Ruiz,
third fight bad,
then we get that Usyk fight. Hey, that's what I say, man. We got a little bit of extra time here, so I mean, what do you guys think? You think I'm wrong on that, or what? What do you think?
I don't need to see that again. I don't need to see that.
I just want to add. When Usyk says he's not going to blow it like Andy Ruiz, I believe him. And, because Andy Ruiz blew it out, not just because of discipline. It's a matter of culture. We Latinos, we get a bit of money in our pockets, and we want to bring the cousins from out of the stone and put the carne asadas and bring the fiesta. You know what I mean? And
Charlie.
Correct. And so
he's saying it, not me.
Correct. And so culturally, I don't want to come out wrong, but the Ukraine culture, it's a bit more frivolous than the Latino one. They're not thinking about partying every single weekend like we are, right? And aside from that, we're talking about a guy with about 351 amateur fights, 15 or 14 losses only, 335 victories or 340 victories. I can't remember. We're talking about a guy that breathes boxing, a guy that knows what to do to stay where he needs to be at, right? I don't think he's gonna blow it. And good for him, not being intimidated by the head coach tour. He doesn't care. He's got AJ's number, in my opinion. It doesn't matter. Look, I'll repeat it again. I think Salas is the guy for AJ, but even under Salas, Usyk has AJ's number. That's just it.
Usyk is like The Rock right now. Like, oh, you going to get a new trainer, AJ? It doesn't matter who your new trainer is. It doesn't
matter. G Funky. If he really wants to shake it up, he might even consider something like that Timothy Bradley would do. And shout out to Maestro, because I think he's a vegetarian too, but maybe that's the kind of shakeup he needs. Maybe he should go vegan for a camp and see what happens. And a good point that you made is he shouldn't go right into this rematch. Maybe try being vegan if you really want to shake it all up and take on a lesser opponent to get his confidence back and see how his body reacts to that, being a vegan or something. Because the chat is kind of saying, everyone agrees he's built like a fighter, but it's just looks. It's aesthetics.
Yeah, definitely. We got 10 minutes here, so I want to bring up another topic before we close it out and give everyone a chance to plug their channels and where they can be found on social media and things like that. But I heard that Rolly Romero's, who's going to be fighting Tank in a couple of months here, his trainer said something about how they're going to have a combination of karate, street fighting, and boxing against Tank Davis. I mean, what is this? Jeet Kune Do, like Bruce Lee, or what? I mean, Rolly Kune Do, is that what we're gonna have here against Tank Davis? What do you guys think about this? Gail, I'll start with you. What do you think? Rolly Kune Do.
I love me some good old-fashioned trash talk. I mean, he had me walking in on an 85-degree day in a fur coat. I mean, goes to Macho Camacho. I mean,
oh yeah,
it's just the greatest. You know what? Boxing's in the entertainment business, folks. Let's never forget that. Yes, it's a sport and it's a deadly serious one at that, but it is competing with all our other entertainment options. And you have a guy like that. Hey, we're talking about him. There's your proof right there. We're giving him time on this show as we wrap it up for the week. He's doing the right thing. Yeah, he might be clocked out cold early in that fight, but he's going to enjoy every minute until he gets there. And good for him. You know, he's earning that check now that maybe he won't entirely earn in the ring. Good for him.
Mr. Pound for Pound Boxing's Fight Corner here says AJ reminds him of Frank Bruno. I've heard quite a few people say that, but
because of the build.
Yeah.
And
Beeb, what do you think here, man? Whoa, you're a big Bruce Lee fan like myself, right? Whoa, what do you think? Jeet Kune Do here for Raleigh against Tank, man.
Imagine if he comes out in a gi.
Oh my God, that'll be
the best.
With a fruit collar. Amazing.
That's right. I love Raleigh Romero. He's probably not going to win, but I'm going to be pulling for him. I think he's hilarious. He needs someone like him to shake up boxing.
Well, if he wins, that would be something, man. But
that's hilarious.
It's quite a long shot. Raw boxing, what do you think, man? Jeet Kune Do here. The way of the intercepting fist.
Look, when I look at Rolly Romero's, I mean, that's my boy, right? I'm Cuban. He's Cuban. But I want to focus more on the boxing side. He's very entertaining. Like Gail said, we're giving him time. He's doing the right things to get us to talk about him. I want to say that aside from power, his chances are limited. This is boxing. We have talked about Mayorga versus Forrest. We have seen those upsets in boxing. I'm going to be rolling for him just because I want to change change the direction boxing is heading. I want to change that. Let's build this cash cow and fight him between our families only. You know what I mean? I want that plan interrupted, right? But boards don't hit back, as Bruce Lee said. And to me, Rolly is a board right now, with all due respect.
Boards definitely don't hit back. Well, we have somebody here saying, Marion Brown says, I would not be surprised if Raleigh KOs Tank.
Timing, he can time him and get him because Tank has the tendency to get hit to give you one, but Tank also has shown dynamite in his hands, and
Absolutely.
we don't know what Rolly has here.
Yeah,
we don't know.
We don't know if he can take a punch or not. But 408. What do you think about this combination of fighting that Raleigh Romero is going to use against Tank Davis?
I've been following him for a while, and to be honest, he cracks me up. I'm in the same camp as everyone here. He entertains me. He makes me laugh. He's a goofball. He's arguably the biggest troll in the boxing world right now. Even better than Jake Paul, I think. Even funnier than Jake Paul as a troll. Hey,
Jake Paul considered a boxer now?
Exactly. Hey, listen, he talked himself into a pay-per-view. Literally talked himself into a pay-per-view. What other lightweights have done that this year, right? He's like a fringe contender, at 135 pounds. And he talked himself, and this is even after he was outboxed by a guy named Marinez and was gifted a decision, right?
Yeah.
I mean, we know he can't fight against boxers, so we shouldn't be surprised what the outcome is eventually going to be. But he continues to entertain me whenever he gets a chance to be behind the mic. Like at the press conference, I don't know if you heard his jokes that didn't go over so well. They give him the mic and he froze. But it was one of the strangest and funniest press conferences that I've seen all year. And he's alluded to that guys that do all the flashy mitt work, and I think he was jabbing at Ryan Garcia, that's pussy shit. That he don't need to do all that fancy mitt. I don't need to show you my mitt skills. Because I did hear about how he's got this combination, that he's electric and eccentric, which is entertaining. It's absolutely entertaining. I don't think he stands a really good chance at Gervonta Davis, but he's talked himself into a major pay-per-view, and that's a lot more than we've seen from the lightweight division. Some of them who've only fought once all year.
Yeah.
But here's the question to the rest of you guys. All right. Does Raleigh Romero last longer against Tank than Michael Desmarinas, a.k.a. Hot and Spicy, lasted against Naoya Inoue? That was 3 rounds, as a reminder, of Mr. Hot and Spicy, who was guaranteeing he was going to win.
I think he can. I think he's strong enough to hang in
I'm
there
gonna say
a little bit
yes.
longer.
Yes.
Yeah.
More than 3.
I'm gonna say yes, Gail.
But guys, I want to give all of you guys on the panel who have channels here a chance to go ahead and put your links to your channels in the chat. So if there's people out there that aren't subscribed to you, they can subscribe. And Gail, I'm going to start with you first. I want to let you give your last thoughts, let everyone know where they could find you, and we definitely thank you for your time to coming on the HCP Roundtable 52. So
Yeah.
Gail, go ahead.
Listen, folks, one last parting words that apply to boxing so beautifully, no matter what crazy shit's going on. In the words of Sergeant Holka, lighten up, Francis. I mean, come on, folks, lighten up, enjoy it. We're fans. You can find my columns in 2 different places. One is Community's digital news. That's comm, digi, D-I-G-I news.com. I'm also writing for NY Fights, New York Fights, for Michael Woods and his merry band of crazy people. The difference between the 2 columns is New York Fights is where I get disorder.
Yes, we like that, and we appreciate you coming on, Gail. We appreciate your time. Great stuff as always. Raw Boxing, I'm gonna go to you next, brother. Go ahead and give us your final thoughts and let everyone know where they could find you.
No, definitely, man. I want to thank you for first of all inviting me over. I haven't done any or put any content in my channel this week. I've been traveling and very busy, and but I want to thank you for having me here. They can find me at YouTube at Raw Boxing TV. I just put the link on the chat. Follow me also on Instagram at Raw Boxing TV. G Funky will tell you guys I upload when I can, when I'm in town. Yeah, man, I'm not the best, but I try to do my best. And if you have brittle ears, my channel is not for you. So I just thought I'd give you that warning right now.
That's right. That's my boy Raw Boxing TV. I've been subscribed to this guy for a long time, man. It's cool to have him on the show. Dave from the 408, the Shoe Shine Boxing. Let us know your final thoughts and where everyone can find you, brother.
Be Funky, thanks a lot for having me on the round table tonight. I'm going to put a show that I did with Raw Boxing, and that's one where my co-host Drew Evo took a pie bet and lost when he bet against Canelo Alvarez. That didn't pan out so well, and he was willing to take a pie on YouTube. So if you haven't seen our show, The Shoe Shine, it comes on Monday nights after G Funky's show. Please do us a favor and hit the subscribe, help my channel grow. I'm going to put that there. It's going to be probably the best November in a long time for boxing. The whole month is filled with great fights. We're going to possibly have an undisputed super middleweight champion at the end of this in just like 10 days, man. I'm really excited about that because that'll be the second time this year we've got a new undisputed champion, right? So I'm excited about that. And thank you for having me on the panel tonight. Appreciate it, guys. Anytime, brother. Make sure you guys subscribe to the Shoe Shine Boxing here on YouTube. And last but not least, the man, the myth, from ringside reporter Joe Habib, man. Give us your final thoughts and tell them how much of a Bruce Lee fan you are. No, I'm just kidding, but let them know where they can find you.
Well, you can find me here on YouTube at Ringside Reporter Live. Myself and Eric Lauder go live every Sunday, 6 p.m. Eastern Time. That's the podcast. Joe Habib on Facebook, JHabib1 on Twitter, and Joe Habib on Instagram. Great show tonight. Great topics. Looking forward to next week. I think that boxing this year is going to end with a bang. It started out a little slow, but it's going to finish with a bang, and that's good. And I think, we got Joshua Usyk, and I think we'll probably have Fury White to start off the beginning of next year. So I think next year is looking good, right?
Yeah.
And then then we'll probably have Shakur and hopefully Lomachenko or Shakur and Valdez. So it's a lot of potential great fights coming down the pike. We're going to close out this year strong, like I said, and next year is going to get off to a good start. And hopefully, these arenas will be filled and all these fights will get made. No more COVID, right?
So let's hope.
Boxing's looking
ready.
Boxing's looking great.
I'm so ready for that, man, because I'll be definitely going to fights, and maybe I can run into a few of you guys at some of these events. Right now, I got to stay put because of, I live with someone who's at high risk for COVID. So
Gotcha.
I'm staying put until everything is clear, but I will definitely be out there watching some of these fights live, and I will be looking forward to see a lot of you guys out there. But thank you all. Look at this. The guy shows up last minute in the clutch with a $2 super chat. D-Style Boxing. He says hard work. Yeah, he's out there working right now, man. But we holding it down for you, brother. Make that money. You know what I'm saying? But I'm going to close it out by saying this. G Funky Boxing is the name. HCP is the gang. If you don't know now, you know, the home of real boxing talk. Thank you all for being here. Subscribe to my channel. Subscribe to all the channels here. Make sure you follow Gail, where she told you to go follow her. And we are out. We'll see you guys on the next one. This is a Roundtable 52. We're out. Peace.